What is up, guys? Del Boy here. I just wanted to make a video on one of the fights that is happening this weekend. Just wanted to make my quick prediction for this fight, and that is between Sullivan Barrera and Joe Smith Jr. This fight is a good fight. You know, both guys are big punchers. Both guys have been involved in some exciting fights. Stylistically, I think it gels quite well as well. Let's just briefly talk about both guys. Joe Smith Jr., he comes into this fight with a record of 23 wins, 1 defeat, 0 draws, 19 of those 23 wins coming by way of knockout. And Sullivan Barrera comes into this fight with a record of 19 wins, 1 defeat, 0 draws, 14 of those 19 wins coming by way of stoppage. One thing worth noting in this fight is the fact that Sullivan Barrera is 6'2", Joe Smith Jr. is 6 foot. Barrera is clearly the taller man. He also has the longer arms as well. He's got a bigger reach. And I think stylistically, with the way he fights and the way Joe Smith Jr. fights, I think that plays into Sullivan Barrera's hands. I think Sullivan Barrera is a pretty significant favourite here. I think stylistically, I think he poses all the wrong things for Joe Smith Jr. Joe Smith Jr. He's a pressure fighter. You know, he likes to keep nice and compact. But one thing I've noticed, he's compact when he comes in, and he's compact when he throws his shots. But he doesn't have a compact defense. He doesn't have a high guard when he's coming in. He's quite easy to catch, and when he attacks, he throws his shots almost like looping hooks to the body and the head. And stylistically, that gives Sullivan Barrera all the room in the world to counter with that jab and that right hand behind it. We saw Barrera fight Shabransky a little while ago, and Shabransky done things similar in the fact where he kind of walks his fighters down, and he doesn't really pay any mind to defense. He's quite wide with his shots. And we saw Sullivan Barrera take Shabransky apart in that fight with that jab and that right hand behind it. He was hurting Shabransky all night. He dropped him a couple of times and he stopped him. And I think Joe Smith Jr., to me, is too easy to catch. He is coming off 2 good wins over Fonfara and Bernard Hopkins. But the Fonfara fight was just a blowout. And I actually felt Joe Smith Jr. got hurt in that fight early on as well. But he blew Fonfara out, but he then beat Bernard Hopkins, who was ancient. He retired him. But even in that Hopkins fight, when there's distance, you know, Joe Smith Jr. didn't look that good, to me anyway. Me personally, I feel Joe Smith Jr. is better at sort of mid-range and on the inside when he's working. But at long range, he's quite poor. He doesn't really have that many good straight punches, you know. He doesn't display a great jab, and that's one thing Barrera does well. His long punches are very good, so when it's on the outside, Joe Smith Jr. cannot beat Barrera. He just can't do it. And also, in terms of durability, who is more durable here? I mean, I personally felt Joe Smith got hurt against Fonfara. Joe Smith was knocked out earlier on in his career. So maybe there is some chin issues there. I mean, Bernard Hopkins was never going to expose that, you know. And although Barrera does get hit and he has been hurt, Barrera has always got up. You know, we saw against Andre Ward where he wasn't really hurt, but he got dropped, he got up. We saw against Shabransky, a guy who can hit a bit. He got dropped and he got up and he stopped his opponent. So one thing about Barrera, you know, when you knock him down, he will get back up and he'll keep on fighting. And I think if this fight comes down to who's going to last the longest and who's more durable, I think that favours Barrera too. I just think, to me, Joe Smith Jr. goes into this fight with a puncher's chance, and to me that's the only way he can win this fight. I don't think he can beat Barrera in a boxing match, and if he does try and fight his fight and put pressure on, he is going to be countered, because defensively, I personally don't think Joe Smith Jr. is that good. He doesn't move his head. He comes in compact, like I said, but he doesn't move his head, and he doesn't have a high guard or any real form of defense. That's great. So I think stylistically, this fight really does favour Sullivan Barrera. But obviously, you've got to give Joe Smith Jr. a puncher's chance. He knocked out Bernard Hopkins, who never gets knocked out. He stopped Fonfara in a round, and he's got a good knockout ratio. So, and Barrera does get hit, so I'm not counting Joe Smith Jr. completely out here, but I just think stylistically it's a bad matchup for Joe Smith Jr. Maybe if Joe Smith can get past that jab somehow, he needs to work a body early and take the sting out of Barrera's punches. And Joe Smith Jr., to his credit, when he gets mid-range, he does work the body very well with those hooks. But again, when he does that, he's open to sort of short shots on the inside, like those uppercuts and whatnot. And again, Barrera does have a good uppercut. So, I mean, on a technical standpoint, I do think there's quite a few levels between these two guys. But the fact that Joe Smith Jr. is a pressure fighter, he's got a big punch, and Barrera does get hit a bit, it does make it interesting, but I do make Barrera a big favourite here. I'm going for a Barrera mid-round KO. That's my pick. What do you guys think about this fight? Am I underrating Joe Smith Jr. or am I overrating Barrera? Me personally, I just feel this is a bridge too far for Joe Smith Jr. He's a good contender. He's a fun fighter, but I just don't think he's going to get a win here. Just my opinion. What do you guys think? Peace.